Hi, welcome back to Tashi's World of Books and welcome to another author deep dive. Hey you guys, so continuing with the theme that I've been doing as of lately, this is going to be an author deep dive. This time I'm going to delve into Celeste. I have not read any of her books before, but I've had these books, The Truth About Heartbreak and The Truth About Tomorrow, on my TBR and a couple of her other books, and so I said, why don't we just dive into it and see what this is all about, and does it live up to the hype? So let's get into it. Okay, so the first book that I'm going to talk about is The Truth About Heartbreak, and I gotta tell you, this is amazing. I gave it a 5 out of 5 star. It is angsty, it is heartbreaking, it is devastating, it is all the things that you would think that it would be. So this book contains cheating, so if cheating is a problem for you, then you're not going to like this book. This book is about River and Everett. And River, it comes from a very abusive home, and she is in the foster care system, and she's in the foster system her entire life, and is severely abused whilst in the foster care system. Okay, so at about 12 or 13 years old, she is adopted by Oliver's family, the James family, and she comes to live with them, and they are a very wealthy, well-to-do family that lives in upstate New York. And Oliver is her foster brother, or her adopted brother, and Everett is his best friend. The book starts off with, in the very first, page 1, it starts off with, we made a mistake. Like, oh my God, we made a mistake. So you know that this mistake has happened. And so the story unfolds and it goes back and then it comes back to present. And so what you come to find is that River and Everett develop a very close connection and a bond from the time that she's 13 years old all the way through, and the story spans roughly about 12 years. So the first 10 years is about this connection that they have developed and their friendship and commitment and connection to one another. The problem is that Everett, he's amazing to River in every sense of the word, but he does not come to terms with what he feels, and he is not honest about what he feels because of his own traumatic past, that he doesn't confront it. And as a result of this, River is the one who gets hurt repeatedly over and over again. And so in this book, you find yourself going, oh my God, my heart is breaking for both of them, but his cheating really happens because, in my opinion, he doesn't confront what's going on with him. And he doesn't stand up and be honest. Really be honest. So this is about soul searching on both ends, about coming to terms. But River needs the time that this takes. And I usually don't like stories that span 10 years because for me it's wasted time, and forced separation is wasted time. But this really needs to happen because River has to find herself. She has to discover who she is. She has to overcome the abuse. She has to overcome all of the things that have happened to her. She needs to know who she is, but so does Everett. Everett needs to figure out who he is as well, and that takes a lot of time. So even if you're opposed to cheating, this book is it's well done, and it's done in a way that's about an arc and a development and soul searching and figuring out who you are and what you stand for, but also making amends and starting anew and figuring out all of the ins and outs and giving people the breadth and the space to do that. So having said that, this is not like, I did a recommendation previously on love triangles. This is not a love triangle. This is like truly like you gotta sort it out and you gotta figure it out, and there's like mean and nasty people that are in your life that shouldn't be in your life, and just all this stuff. Is it worth the read? It's absolutely worth the read. Don't sleep on it. It is so good. So the one thing that I find with Celeste is, for me, as I've read a couple of her books now, they start off slow for me. I don't feel invested in the characters and I feel a little bit bored, but by the end of the book, I'm all in and like diving in. It's almost like she has a slow build, and then it peaks and then it takes off. So just know that about her writing. And again, I definitely think it's well worth it and you should check it out. I think you're going to appreciate it. So then the next book in the series, and this one I always like to tell you guys, this is on audiobook. You can find it on audiobook. I hate when authors do this. This one is not. So if you are an audiobook lover like myself, just know that going in, you have to get this is on Kindle Unlimited, so you can have Alexa read it to you. So The Truth About Tomorrow is a companion novel, and this story is about River's brother Oliver, and his relationship with a character that comes in at the end of this book. And I'm not going to say who it is, but it's an age gap. It's a 14-year age gap, 14 or 15-year age gap scenario. Most of this book, when you talk about slow burn, this is slow burn. It has to be slow burn because the main character, the heroine in this book, is 16 years old. And for most of this book, she is 16 years old. And he is 31. And so she tells you at the beginning of this story, this is a taboo age gap with the heroine being 16 years old throughout the bulk of the story. And it truly is. But I have to say, she is the aggressor in many ways, and I don't feel like, depending on where you live, like in Australia, for example, the age of consent is 16. So depending on which state or which country you live in, the age of consent varies, and so you'd have to know what that is. She knows what she wants, and she knows what she's going after. I do think there is forced separation that happens in here. This spans a long period of time. There's an HEA. I love how it ends up in this book. It ends up exactly the way that it's supposed to, but there's a lot of growth that has to happen. They also deal with PTSD. They deal with rape in this book. She also deals with depression, chronic mental illness. There's a lot that's packed. This packs a punch for sure. And I think that the time frame, again, the span that this takes is necessary because the heroine in this book has such a traumatic history that she needs to come to terms, and she needs to go to therapy, and she needs to be dealing with everything that's happened to her, and that takes lots of time. And the only person that she's willing to open up to is Oliver, and she needs more than just Oliver. Now, the thing that kind of ticked me off in this book is that you get to see Everett and River in this story, and Everett becomes a hypocrite because Everett gets pissed off at Oliver for doing a similar thing than what Everett did here. It's a little different, but it's similar. And he gets called down on it, but he's still hypocritical and pissed off about it. But it all works out in the end, but it doesn't go back to what it once was. It's a really great story for sure. I absolutely loved it. I gave this a 4 out of 5 star. I didn't like it as much as I liked this story. I thought this story, they both are good, but this is the better story in my opinion. But again, really, really good nonetheless. If you haven't checked it out, you absolutely should. If you like a good age gap, it's really amazing. Go for it. Okay, so then the follow-up to The Truth About Tomorrow, and I love it because it's called The Truth About Tomorrow because when they try to confront things and discuss things, they say to one another, let's talk about it tomorrow. Let's not face it today. Let's talk about it tomorrow. And so it's very, very touching. And so then The Truth About Us, I love it because it picks up a year later after this, and it is a novella, and you get to see all of the characters that are in this book in here, although it's mainly about this couple, and they're confronting life stuff and circumstances, and I love it because you get to see them a year out, you get to see them 5 years out, and then 10 years out, and it's absolutely amazing, and it really ties it all together, and this little novella packs a punch, and I gave it a 5 out of 5 star. It's gorgeous, it's beautiful, it's everything that it should have been, and then some, and so what you were sort of missing here, you got it here, and so then it really ratchets this couple's story up to a 5 for sure when you take it in combination. So it was really, really well done, and I absolutely loved it. I thought it was angsty. I thought it was heartbreaking. I thought it gave a wonderful arc and a beautiful development. Most of the characters really came into their own. They faced their demons. They addressed the things that needed to be addressed. They were honest with one another. Ultimately, they were honest with themselves ultimately, and they got their HEA, and they so deserved it because they worked really damn hard to get it. Okay. So then the last book that I want to talk about, this has been on my TBR for quite some time. I had not planned, I definitely planned on reading about the truth about that series. And then I said, well, why don't I do an author spotlight? I know I've got one more B. Celeste book on my TBR. So I said, well, why don't I go ahead and pull this and check it out now? And I was a little bit hesitant because I've read a couple of books as of lately that have like really ripped my heart out, and I'm just like, I don't want to do that anymore. Like, I want to do HEA for sure, like light and fluffy. If dark romance can be light and fluffy, I make it light and fluffy. Anyway, so I pulled this off my shelf and I went into this completely blind. And this is a tough story to read. And let me say this. This has chronic illness representation. So this is another story, serendipitously, that has lupus representation, just like Real and Kennedy Ryan. So it has a lupus representation, and right off the bat, this is a story, and you find this out right away, that this girl's twin sister passes away from lupus, or, you know, chronic illness as a result of lupus, and her mother is so devastated. She's had a strained relationship with her father. Her parents have separated. Strained relationship with her father. Her mother is so devastated over the loss of the sister that she is disconnected from this character, and Emery, and they call her M. And so she decides very early on that she's like, I'm gonna go and live with Dad. So she calls her dad up, and she says, basically, can I come stay with you? And he says, absolutely. And she's really surprised because she has such a distant and detracted relationship from him that she wasn't expecting it. But at any rate, she goes. He lives with his new wife, Cam, and Cam has a son named Caden. And right away, it's like a enemy's situation. He is cold and hard and distant to her, but we find that he does these things, these really kind and sweet things to her, like on the DL. And so, to not give away spoilers, the relationship sort of ensues. So it's a taboo relationship in that it's a stepbrother situation. They develop a relationship, but it also is very, very angsty because she is diagnosed, and she's hiding it from him. She's diagnosed with lupus as well, and clearly she's getting sicker and sicker, and she's not honest with him about her illness, and the story sort of ensues from there. So let me say that this book, I really enjoyed it. There are parts of it that I was quite bored. I didn't connect with the characters because it is a high school romance situation. For whatever reason, I didn't connect with these characters, but at the end, the way that it was written sort of ratcheted it up. So I was going to give it a 3.75, but then I read how it ended and the epilogue and then the second epilogue, and I was like, okay, so it took it up to a 4-star for me. But I feel like if you do if you like this, then you'll like that type of scenario. I feel like 1,000 Boy Kisses by Tilly Cole did so much better what this book tried to do. Like, for me, 1,000 Boy Kisses and Under the Sycamore Tree are like, it's the same story under different circumstances. It just, in 1,000 Boy Kisses, it was just done so much better. I'm not saying that this is not good, because B. Celeste gives an author's note at the end that she poured her heart into this because she suffers from chronic illness, and so she wanted to really give that representation in a book, and I'm so happy that she did it. But for me, it just, I don't want to say it fell short, but it wasn't, like, I was expecting to go into this with, like, you know, like a gut punch and having it pack a lot, and it didn't deliver for me in quite that way. The main character in this story, Emery, she just fell flat for me, but she was flat because she was not looking to make any connections, and she didn't, and the story wasn't fleshed out for me in the way that I would have liked to see it flesh out. I'm not sure what I'm trying to say. It's good nonetheless, but I felt like 1,000 Boy Kisses did it better, if that makes any sense at all. I'm not making sense today, but that's okay. I don't always have to. at any rate, that is all that I have for today. I hope that you check out these stories. For sure, I hope that you go and check out The Truth About Heartbreak is amazing, amazing. The Truth About Tomorrow, outstanding. This whole series right here, like, delivers a punch, and I love to be in that world, and I'm gonna miss those characters because it had everything that I like, right? Which is a tight friend group. You know, we got to see multiple characters develop over time. We revisited other characters in, you know, the companion novels, and so I just thought it was really well done, and it was very angsty. So if you like angsty books, then you will like that for sure. So you guys, that is all that I have for today. You know that I upload new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So I look forward to seeing you in my next video. And you guys, thank you so much for all the love, kindness, and support that you have given me. It means the world to me, and I so appreciate you. And thank you so much for tuning in. And I'll see you in my next video.